the Fed released their new stimulus package, another 2.3 trillion.
We're talking trillions, like
just
it's
pulling
nothing.
out of their ass. Here you go. You need $1 trillion. It's like Oprah. You get $1 trillion. You get $1 trillion. You get $1 trillion. Everybody gets $1 trillion, baby. It's no problem.
It's funny because we talk trillions now. You know the difference? I mean, obviously you do, but you know how much is the jump from a billion to a trillion?
This is what that people don't understand. Like, okay, so to be a billionaire, right? Like people think of someone as rich is once you're a millionaire, you're rich.
Well, not anymore.
Well, not anymore, maybe, but still, $1 million is still considered a lot of money. Well, a billion is 1,000 million, and $1 trillion is 1,000 billion.
A million.
It's a million. To get $1 trillion,
I think
you need $1 million. A million.
Can you imagine
times.
the treasury printing machines? They must be working like overtime. Those guys are definitely not in quarantine. They must be like
so
printing money.
Basically, why I said I was cynical at the beginning of the episode. I didn't wake up cynical. Okay, I'm a pretty positive, optimistic guy. All right, I'm normally in a good mood. I know it doesn't always seem that way, but you know the podcast it's for entertainment. You gotta get riled up. You know, I'm like the Stephen A. of the marketing world.
Hold on.
But anyways, it's blasphemy, as he would say. No, I mean this is crazy. I don't know if you read all the details of this, or if anyone's read the details of this.
I had enough with the
Trump
news.
The first thing I read was the Fed is gonna start buying junk bonds. That means, so for those who don't know how credit ratings work with bonds, okay, so you have like Standard & Poor's and Moody's and these credit rating agencies, and basically they assess bonds and they give them...
It's almost like a classroom rating, A, B, C, D.
Right, they basically give them ratings based on, it's mostly based on what are the odds that this bond is going to get paid back. Okay, what is the financial health? So the bonds, if it's a corporate bond, how healthy is this company financially that's issuing this bond, and how likely are they to pay it back?
Creditworthy,
If you're an Apple, you get like a AA, AAA rating normally, right? You have tons of cash in the bank. The odds of you not paying back your bonds are super low. So it goes from AAA, AA, then BBB, BBB. Okay, and so those are the ratings. Below B, which is basically the sixth lowest level, 6 levels below AAA, is considered not investment grade. That's literally what they call it. They just say this is not considered investment grade, so they classify it as junk bonds. And so the Fed is going to buy what's considered non-investment grade junk bonds.
They have great reward. You know, the rate of return is much higher.
They're
too.
buying
So
high-yield junk bonds.
I know.
We're talking 10, 12% bonds. That's fucking crazy. That's never happened before. You thought TARP was crazy? This makes TARP look like
what I like of this headline is just the Fed plan would inject another 2.3 trillion. Like
inject.
How do you inject?
Where do you get this money from?
I know. That's
the thing that no one's talking about. And I'm gonna let it fly for another few weeks because this is not, I agree, what we should be necessarily concerned about right now because there are more pressing issues. But nobody is talking about inflation. Nobody. The U.S. government, in a span of 2 months, is going to spend $5 trillion.
But you know the irony of this thing is that usually at the end of the year we have this government lockdowns where the government shuts down because they don't approve the government budget, saying like, okay, we're going to approve this budget for next year, like 1.5 trillion, this and that. That's for the country, from the country's economy, the annual budget. And now they just pull like 2.3 trillion. To put it in perspective,
so people understand, in 2 months, we are spending more than the annual budget for everything. For everything. Okay? Yeah. The annual U.S. budget is over $4 trillion. It's I forget exactly, it changes, but it's 4-point-something trillion. And
not to mention our debt now is up to like
24 trillion it hit the other day. It'll be 26 tomorrow, 27. Who cares? It's whatever. It's funny money. It doesn't matter.
But we're telling consumers to be very conscious with their money.
But
it's crazy.
But why are they...
He's trying to, he says that inject money into the economy and he's saying, okay, I'm running out of things that are I'm running out of legit things to buy, so I need to buy junk bonds.
Can I say this? He's a fucking liar. And I want that in quotes, big capital letters. Jay Powell is a fucking liar. He's not a liar. He's a fucking liar. Because if you want to inject money in the economy, there's a million better ways to do that than buying corporate junk bonds. What are we doing?
For the first time, I prefer that nobody watches this podcast, because if the Fed comes here...
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Okay?
No,
this is why I own gold. This is why I own Bitcoin. Because of this fucking reason. Okay? Yeah. Because the Fed has lost its goddamn mind.
You don't own any junk bonds?
No, I don't own junk bonds. Okay, I wish I did. They'd be worth a lot more now because I've got a buyer.
Maybe indirectly
I've got a buyer with 2.2 trillion to spend.
Yeah, right.
Okay? No, it's absolutely insane. And that's one thing they're buying. They're also buying muni bonds. They're buying municipality bonds. So now the federal government is going to start buying city and state bonds from city and state governments.
Some of them
they're going to start buying mortgage-backed securities.
Some of the munis are tax exempt, so at least the government is not paying taxes on the bonds that they're buying.
I don't. This is a whole other rant. This is a whole. I could go on. I could have a 3-hour solo monologue about the Fed and Bretton Woods and the gold standard and all of these things, and it's too much. The reason why I could go on why we shouldn't even have a Fed, or if we have a Fed, that there should be incredibly strict restrictions on what they are and are not allowed to do. Specifically, the first thing I would put in is say the Fed is not under any circumstances ever allowed to buy fucking junk bonds. Because why are we buying junk bonds? Okay, if you want to put
because there's nothing else to buy.
There is what else to buy. You can give money to the people.
Well, I know.
You can give money to small businesses. This is corporate corruption.
I know.
That's what this is.
That's what they were saying with the
junk bonds.
They said
they're going to companies who are saying we're not going to be able to pay our debts because we were financially irresponsible, and the government's going to buy the debt so that we have a longer time period to pay it back, or maybe they'll even just forgive it. I swear to God, if the Fed forgives some of the debt from these junk bonds,
No, but not only that. With all this money that they've injected all this money to the economy, like it says, they're injecting and buying all this.
Going 100% gold.
They could have given each American citizen $100,000 and say, okay, this is how much money.
Not 100,000.
Well,
I actually did the math. If they wanted to give, if you split 2.3 trillion.
No, not this 2.3. Add the other 2.2 that were before with the previous stimulus.
Just with this, if you did 2.3 trillion divided by the 180 million working Americans, it's $13,000.
Yes,
just about.
Right.
So you could have given every American $13,000.
Right, and add up the previous stimulus.
Right.
That's another 2.2 trillion. So that's what I'm saying. That when you add up everything between the stimulus that they gave, the $1,200 per person per family, on $500 per kid, whatever, and then the small business incentive, the paycheck protection plan, this thing right now, every American could have had like $50,000.
No, not 50.
Okay, you tell me.
But yeah, like
30,
15, 20, yeah. And
More
that would
than
make a huge difference.
This alone is.
Here's my point. It doesn't always. I do think if you're going to give away 2.3 trillion and none of it is going to just people, I think that's kind of insane. Yeah, I do. But if they said, okay, we're going to give another whatever, instead of basically, because 2.3 trillion basically would give 180 million Americans $12,700, I think was the number exactly, if you could throw it in a calculator. But if they said, okay, we're not going to give all of that, but we're going to give everyone another, in addition to whatever we already promised, we're going to add another $3,000 on top of that. Okay. And then the rest of that money is going to go, and we're going to start buying basically even more to small businesses, even more. If they, like, why junk bonds? What are we doing here?
Well, I know. Well, let's kind of start wrapping it up, because I think we're getting. I mean, we've been talking for over an hour, but
it's so blatantly like we don't care anymore.
So let me ask you:
we're so corrupt and we're so powerful, and there's nothing you can do about it, and we don't care anymore.
So prediction time.
What can people do? Buy gold and buy Bitcoin, because goddamn, I don't trust any currency right now. The only thing that the U.S. has going for it, and I'll say this, and this is the kind of fucked up thing, truly, that even though the U.S. The Fed can do all these things. The Treasury can print money like it's free. That for them
It's free for them.
Because we can spend ungodly amounts of money on ungodly things that we never need. It might not matter because at the end of the day, the U.S. is still the number one economy, and there's no other currency that comes even close because the euro will be destroyed within the next 5 years. The Chinese yuan, the renminbi is completely fucking worthless. Who's putting their money in renminbi?
We criticize the Chinese for manipulating their currency.
The pound is done. I mean, there's no currency that can be trusted. And because of that, the de facto trusted currency becomes the most powerful economy, which is the U.S. And so we're going to have tons of capital flight coming to us. And so it's going to be like a last man standing type thing, where it's not that the U.S. is going to get through this better than most countries because we've policy-wise been better than most countries. We're going to get through it better than most countries just because we are the more powerful and richer country, basically. It's only that.
All right, let me ask you one final question, David. I think we've probably need to wrap it up soon. But next week at this time, a week from today, by the way, happy Easter, everybody. This Sunday is Easter Sunday. We're going to be all confined, but still it's a good time to celebrate. Hopefully you're confined with your family, so maybe you just need more time apart from your family. That's a whole thing. But anyways, next week at this time, what do you think will be different as far as the situation? Are we starting to see a little more
and I didn't get into the markets.
Right, but let's just kind of leave something for next week. But
I'm not giving financial advice, but I can't believe the markets are still
I
going
know.
up.
The market is already up today.
I'm gonna start buying puts. I mean, I'm not kidding. This is not financial advice. Don't listen to me. But I'm gonna start buying fucking deep out of the money puts on S&P because this is
I've been investing just
crazy.
because I'm playing with the market.
I was waiting for the S&P to dip below 2,000. What is it at? 27 something?
Almost 2,800 right now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I told you the bottom. I called the bottom and I started buying things.
You didn't call the bottom.
Well,
the bottom is coming, baby. And it's going to be bad.
Well, it's going to have to come down.
We're
almost now.
I'm buying deep out of the money
If you go
puts.
year over year, not year to date, year over year, we're almost even. Okay?
I know. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So year over year, like last year in April.
They've lost their goddamn minds.
Last year in April, we were about the same as we are today.
Yeah,
so
I
we
know.
recovered from the bottom that was down 30% until now. We've already recovered like 15.
Yeah, I know.
Or something like that.
I know.
So we're now, obviously, we're not at the time of where we were at the beginning of the year to date, but we are year over year, basically last year at this time, we're about the same. Now, is that foolish? I'm sure it is, but a lot of people are making a lot of money in this market, and tell you what, because it's a little predictable, and you have a big...
It's not predictable.
No, but you
Don't
have...
say that. It's not predictable
Well,
at all.
no, it's been for a while.
If I would have told you that 3 weeks ago when we dropped 30%,
No.
we would be almost back to even.
No, I'm saying
in
that
2
since...
weeks, you would have called me insane.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that since the pullback correction happened, we've had fairly predictable upswings of 1,300, 9%, down 8%. I mean, you can see the curve is right here, actually, where it gets into a pattern where people get all enthusiastic, the market goes up 9%, and then people say, oh, fuck, I went too much. They're going to start selling. It goes down another 10%. And even Mark Cuban was saying, I'm buying all the dips and selling all the tops, or basically just taking advantage of that. I bought a couple of dips already.
I'm going to play that game of trying to...
Predict the market?
Time and predict day-to-day volatility.
I'll never do that.
You can go for it. I personally am not doing that.
I'm
going to do is basically say this is crazy. What's happening? Just in the same way.
There's certain companies that there's certain companies.
But just in the same way that in February we had a conversation on this podcast when the coronavirus cases were exploding and the market was at all-time highs, and we said this is insane. At that time, I did not short because I said I don't know what's going on. But I've learned my lesson.
But
at
that point, also we thought that the market will continue to increase based on the election year and Trump and all that stuff. So obviously the pandemic threw everything out the window. But even within the pandemic, when you start looking at the patterns, you can see that investors are trying to get back in, but they're afraid to call the bottom, or you can always say, oh, we haven't seen the bottom yet, or maybe we have seen it. I don't know. Nobody knows that.
We have the highest unemployment in 100 years. How is the market going up?
But because of that. That's what the Fed is doing.
Yeah, but that
The market went up today because of this. I
that
was looking at the futures and they were flat or even negative until this happened this
I
morning.
understand.
And all of a sudden,
I
we shut
understand.
Up. So,
But that is a fugazi, as we like to call it.
I know.
It's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's fairy dust. Okay.
I love it. All right, we'll leave it there.
If you
All
got
right.
that reference.
Yeah, that's one of my
comment.
favorite quotes too. All right, David, thanks for
Where will things be next week?
joining me.
I don't know. I don't like to predict things. I'll make one prediction, okay? And that's that the market, the S&P is still going below 2,000. That's my only prediction.
Okay.
Will it happen next week? No,
as far
probably
as
not.
confinement will be just the same way as
Everything
we
will
are
be the
this week.
same, and then the week after that, and the week after that, probably till the end of time, because people are crazy, and they say, you know what we should do in the face of a pandemic? Forget trying to solve the issue of the virus. Let's just buy junk bonds. That's how we cure the virus.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there. Thanks for your sarcastic ending. And for all of you, have a
I was
very-
gonna pitch a new segment for the show. I don't even think it's necessary, but like maybe a little 5 minutes, and it's just called "David Gill is pissed off," and I just rant for 5 minutes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go have lunch, and then you can have it on your own.
but I figure
Just pretend that
I
I'm here.
basically have that every week
right.
anyways. So
All right, guys. Happy Easter. I know it's different than every other Easter that we've all celebrated.
and if
Definitely
you celebrate,
unless you are like
I don't know,
born in
whatever.
1917 or 19 when the Spanish flu pandemic happened, you probably are celebrating your first Easter under confinement. But anyways, make it very happy for you, and thanks for listening. If you got all the way to the end of this podcast, we really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.